Fully managed EDR solutions are EDR solutions that are managed by a team of experts. You get all those benefits of EDR, but you have that added advantage of having a dedicated team of security professionals who are monitoring it and responding to threats on behalf of your organization.
Okay.
So the reason why these are important, and I understand this graphic looks pretty confusing, and that's the point. There are so many ways that you can be compromised, and not all of these are created equal. There are things that look legitimate that aren't, and there are things that aren't legitimate that look legitimate. And there are so many different flows and ways that a threat actor can initially gain access and then move laterally through your environment. So it's really difficult for one individual to have all of that context and knowledge to understand what's going on. Not to mention, there is always something new, as I mentioned, new strains of malware, new CVEs, and it's really difficult to stay on top of all of that. Plus, if you're just creating detectors that are alerting to, hey, if we see this and then this, I want an alert, you might end up with a whole lot of noise. And
Yep.
that alert fatigue can be exhausting. Sifting through what's legit, what's a false positive, what was just a user doing something silly, that can be really difficult and take that time away from other projects, especially if you don't necessarily have someone just dedicated to security or just dedicated to even looking at EDR alerts.
And can I make a valid point? Can I inject a valid point here?
Please.
People don't know what they don't know. So
Absolutely.
if you're depending on yourself to cover all of these things in the pie, it's it's just not gonna. You're not gonna be as successful.
Yeah.
I mean, just like the old saying goes, multiple eyes are better than one set, right?
Mm-hmm.
Two
Jack
heads
of
are
all
better than one.
trades, master of none.
That's right. And I think a lot of
So,
IT people are like that. IT
mhm,
people in general, we're very smart people. But at the same time, we don't know what we don't know.
absolutely. And delegating is important too, but
Mhm.
having someone you trust to delegate to, that's pretty tough. Awesome. And that kind of leads into the question of who should manage your EDR. So you get those kind of two routes, right? You can manage it yourself or within your team, or you
That's right.
can have someone manage it for you. So that comes with a number of questions and constraints: time, money, resources. These are the big three, right? So when you're thinking about, what can my team do? What do we have the time for? What's within our budget? And who could actually be doing it? So thinking about your normal processes of how do you spend money across your security stack? How often are you reevaluating what you need to have? What does that onboarding or adoption process look like? What do you do for recruiting new hires? What does your onboarding process look like? What does your retention look like? Who's dedicated to security within your team? And then how much time is being spent looking at logs? How much time is being spent on maintaining continual education to know what you're looking for? When you adopt a new tool, how long does it take to fully get it off the ground and get someone comfortable working with it? So there are a lot of things that go past just the new shiny object when you really start to consider, okay, there's a balance between what we want and what we can do. So let's try to make this work within that and find the right place and what realistically what our team has the facilities to do.
Okay.
So talking about self-manage, so there are a lot of great reasons to self-manage your EDR. You can really tailor things to be specific to your organization. So have specific detection rules. Let's say that there's something you want to be alerted to, or a workflow that you want to have of, if we see this, let's cut that immediately. You can get really specific and granular there. You've also got 24/7. If you have 24/7 expertise, then absolutely self-management is going to be a great option. So, if you've got someone who's able to look at logs 24/7 and is at the top of their game, I would highly recommend self-management. Absolutely. But if you don't, which I would say most people don't, because that is a huge lift to get there, it's worth considering a managed option. So maybe an external 24/7 SOC, or maybe a managed EDR tool. And if you want to be in charge of your agent upgrades and maintenance to agents, then it could be a good option to go self-manage. So if you've got some strict compliance regulations that would make it really difficult to have a vendor maintain that for you, then self-management is a great option. But things to consider are that continuous learning is a big lift on the individual, and it's going to take up more time than you would hope. It's hard to find security experts, especially, let's say, experts within specific tools even, because every tool has a different workflow. And then you can also have a bit of longer delays to global visibility, because you're likely only working with a couple of individuals looking at logs at a time. So talking about external management, going with an externally managed solution is going to reduce alert fatigue, free up time for your IT technicians to work on other things, and you're only alerted to actual incidents. Swift action, so across the board, you're going to be able to see on kind of a global level if multiple things are happening at once. And then that detection engine and analysis is maintained by individuals who are constantly updating, what those detectors are. But it will limit your flexibility and control of the tool, as mentioned before, where you don't get as much of the say of what you want to be what you want those detectors to be. And this is a big one. You have to trust your vendor. If you don't trust your vendor, then there's no point in having it managed by them, because you don't trust the information you're getting. You might end up doubling back over things anyway, and you're paying for them to manage it for you. And then it's a waste of time and money.
And their resources.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, not having trust with your vendor, it's something that people don't consider frequently, because it's just not top of mind. But if you don't trust that your vendor is always updating things and making sure that they're doing their due diligence with quality assurance checks and things like that, then it's going to create either a big issue in the event that something gets by, or you're going to feel that anxiety kind of persisting and likely creating more work for you in the long run.
And you're going to need to find a new vendor if you don't trust them.